Hello, I'm Toycat, and if you've spent any time looking at the menu screen in Minecraft, you'll notice what an average village looks like. There's maybe 5 to 6 houses, one of which might be a blacksmith, one of which might be a church, and that's kind of what the standard village is. You do of course find a lot of villages that break this mold, but it is the mold that needs to be broken, and that's why it's always so curious when you find something that's beyond that, and that's what I wanted to show you in today's video. Because today's seed, which is this by the way, breaks the mold not only in terms of what you expect from villages, but also in terms of what you expect from the terrain, and even what you expect from things like diamonds, because there are a lot of free diamonds in terms of diamond ore, in terms of how you find them, and it's very interesting in that way. So let's place down our beacon. So hello, I'm Toycat, and welcome back to Seed Sunday, the weekly series where I show you seeds for Minecraft that are particularly interesting and worth checking out in some way. And this week's seed is one that, you know, if you did type in, will spawn you in a forest right next to a ravine, I'm sure you've noticed, and this ravine is pretty interesting because it's split into 2 parts by, of all things, a weird swamp kind of pond. So a swamp pond literally dissects a ravine in 2, which is always kind of fun in that way, right? So yeah, it's always fascinating to see something like this, such a vast, giant structure, separated in 2 by something so small, but that is how Minecraft's terrain generation works. So here's a fun little, kind of like a bug, kind of an intentional way to stop, you know, these things just pouring everywhere. But one of the things you'll notice about this particular ravine is if you do jump down into it, you'll see how there is a cave which connects the 2 paths, so you can go from one side to the other, and it's really interesting to me because of the sheer drop it is from the surface to all the way down here. So as we always do like on this channel, the ravine leads into some caves. Follow those caves long enough to these coordinates roughly over here, and what's that? You're gonna find a diamond ore. What's that? It's not just one diamond ore, it's multiple exposed diamonds. Wow, isn't that kind of crazy? Also, they're exposed diamonds into granite, so they're easy to see, even in the dark, which is nice. But yeah, you get some free diamonds, which is always nice for a thing that is next to spawn and accessible just through caves, because you know these caves are also going to give you access to gold, to coal, to gold, to redstone, to all the other things, and it's wonderful to have direct access without having to do a mining down thing of yourself. So that's a big plus when you start a seed, right? Do you know what else is a big plus, by the way? The Swiss flag. But yeah, this seed spawns you in something you usually don't expect. 2 biomes crossing over with also a ravine, which also has a weird feature cutting that ravine in half, which is interesting enough by itself, right? Just 2 biomes combined. But if you look around, you notice how it's actually a few other biomes coming in real close, which is great because Bedrock generally has huge biomes. It's hard to find something that is kind of small, and you get a lot of that near the spawn. So what's that? Oak trees. What's that? Some, spruce trees. What's that? Birch trees as well. Wow, you're so spoiled for choice. But it gets even better because in the distance over there, you spot that village over there. That's right, there's a village near spawn, but there's actually 2 because there's also a tiger village just over here. So yeah, it's not a particularly great village. It's surrounded by some interesting terrain because of the weird extreme hills. But what I recommend if you are interested in villages, you know, you're probably going to use this seed on some long-term basis, I'd imagine. I'd recommend going much further away from spawn because this seed has some very interesting villages if you're willing to travel. So that means that from your spawn location over here, instead of heading left to your, nearest tiger village or forwards to your nearest plains village, you're going to do something a little bit counterintuitive and go slightly to the right. You're going to head this way into the giant tiger biome. You're going to pass a pretty big village along the way, and I do recommend passing it with one exception, which is the blacksmith over here. As you should know by now in Minecraft, when you find a blacksmith, it's opportunities for free great loot. What's that? Free saddles, free bread. Oh, look at this, we're following on the trend. We can make a saddle sandwich, we can make an obsidian sandwich, an iron pickaxe sandwich. Don't all of those things look delightful? Yes, they do. See, the editing budget is sky high. Also sky high is this random block of grass. If you appreciate weird generation, you might appreciate this. As someone who does a lot of seeds, I always find these things weird because they're the sorts of things that the Minecraft code usually tries to clean up where it can. So when you find just a single block of grass, it's weird. Someone will assume you put it there, and you can be like, well, actually, and then they won't believe you, and that's kind of fine. I mean, if you really think about it, in the modern era, no one really trusts anyone anyway, and that's probably a big problem that has some roots on the internet. But if people aren't going to trust you anyway, you might as well confuse them. That's always been my theory that has never led me astray. So yeah, you want to keep heading in this direction past that village, past that grass block, and towards the extreme mountain. On the other side of the mountain, you're going to notice there's a pillager outpost. These things are always fun, cool, useful if you are trying to take advantage of a village, especially one that is admittedly some distance away. You'll probably end up passing another village with an extreme hills in front of it, so do you want you some more free blacksmith loot? You better believe you should. This is randomized every time, but this time we got, wow, literally 7 obsidian. I think we had 3 earlier. that would have been 10 obsidian on the way to the village you're trying to settle down at. So that just goes to show why this seed is great, even on the way to being great. But yeah, you want to kind of take a right turn at this village. You want to head over the mountain, and you want to find this village just over here. This village is really notable because it doesn't have a single blacksmith, which is usually the most desirable structure, but it does have 3 of the second most desirable and second rarest, which is the church. That's right, there's a church over here, there's a church over here, and there's a church over here. Do you know what churches get? I mean, in terms of like actual chest stuff, not too much, but you get brewing stands, you get a priest villager, or a cleric villager rather, but I mean, they get some pretty good trades later down the line that you're going to see on screen right now. I think the most notable one is being ender pearls. Do you hate killing endermen as well because it's kind of a random process? This village is here for you. It's such a cool little thing having 3 clerics by default. You can obviously up that number when you go to the nether, which you might be able to do just the blacksmith loot, but it's pretty cool, right, that this seed has one amazing, pretty rare, cool village. But you might say, wait a minute, Toy Cat, is that really what we're taking as a standard here? And no, actually, it's not. So yeah, if you keep heading in the same direction that you found this village from those extreme mountains, basically if you head so that your negative, coordinates go up, you can head 1,000 blocks, which I think is totally worth doing. So yeah, there's a huge tiger biome here. You'll actually find a second tiger village within this same biome. That's how big this one kind of is, but you'll be looking for this one, which is located over here. Of course, on the ground, it's harder to look for, so just look for roughly these coordinates on screen right now. But if you look for these coordinates, what you're going to find is a very interesting village, because if we look at this village over here, not only is there a ridiculous number of pumpkin patches, so 3 pumpkins for everyone, but also you'll notice how the village is covered in blacksmiths. Blacksmiths, which are kind of isolated from the world, like, no offense, their friend, but this is probably bad for business. You don't want to, have a giant hole in front of your house, but you better believe this blacksmith does anyway, so you can take his free iron chest plate. You better believe that he's not the only blacksmith in town either, because there's a second blacksmith over here. 2 blacksmiths is well above the average, as I'm sure you'll know if you've been following the blacksmith saga, but it gets even better, because what's that? A 3rd blacksmith? Wow, look at the free horse armor and a saddle. You can have 2 horses now and armor them both up. I mean, I'll admit right now, I don't really see the point in armoring your horse. A lot of people like it though. It's a fun cosmetic thing to them, so sure, do it if you want to. And then what's this over here? Wow, a 4th blacksmith chest. That surely must be all they have. But what's that? Is there a 5th? Well, this is something you've shown a few times, Toy Cat. It's really nice and rare, but that's insane. 5 blacksmiths on top of everything else in the seed. But what if I said, no, 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 no. This is not the end of the blacksmiths today. Because just over here, on a little tangent of the village, it leads to a random tree in a cave, actually. So that's where he gets all the ores from to do all of his smelting. But you'll find yourself a 6th blacksmith chest. So yeah, this was really sad for the person who sent it in, because Chris Petro, in case you're curious, he actually, he found a seed with 6 blacksmiths. No one else has even, done that besides the person who found 7. And I think that's, pretty nutty in my opinion. So yeah, here's an amazing thing for you that's just kind of a side on a pretty good seed otherwise. Also, there's a cave here, but like, if you're this far away from spawn, you shouldn't need the surface caves too much. Maybe you find them useful anyway, I'm not here to judge you. And yeah, this might be the perfect place for you to set up house because it has 6 blacksmiths. It has this really nice plains biome intersected by a pretty weird ravine, but I thought you can do something with this, right? Like, you look at this and you see, it's one of the very few Minecraft bedrock ravines that doesn't go down to Y11. Maybe you want to take advantage of that, do some weird trap stuff with it. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to leave it how it is. Or maybe you want to cover it up with something that can be easily destroyed so people fall and die. Again, work out your own stuff. Oh yeah, you could use like a piston trap and like maybe people fall down there. That would be fun in my opinion. But also what's kind of cool about this area is there is a jungle just over here. Super green grass if you're willing to burn that down. So yeah, you get a really nice flat land, and in case you run out of space, you got a jungle to expand into, which is always nice. But yeah, I totally do recommend heading back to the 3 churches. So yeah, it's a village, it's got 3 churches, it's pretty nice to work on for long-term things. Also, it's covered in horses, which is kind of weird, and that might be useful given all the horse stuff you're going to get. But yeah, here's the wonderful thing about this village. You can work with it, you can turn it into your own thing. It's got a plains biome surrounding it, of course, not the best one in the world, but it's kind of nice. But also, it has another village, which is pretty nearby, and this village that's nearby, that's kind of halfway into a forest, halfway into an extreme hills, this village is really interesting because it is the location of the Stronghold. So yeah, what you can do is you can dig straight down from the center of the village, and you should find yourself somewhere in the Stronghold. Oh, okay, but be careful, or you might fall into a lava hole. very real possibility. But yeah, if you dig down, you find yourself inside of a stronghold. How nice this is. And what's that? Is there a mob spawner inside the stronghold? I think you'll find there is. What a wacky thing, right? But yeah, not only will you find yourself a stronghold like this, but obviously one of the things you might find useful is that if you go a little bit away from the village and you dig down roughly here, these coordinates right here on screen, minus 1079, minus 1189. If you dig down from here, this villager is watching me because he knows what I'm about to do. If you dig down from here, you'll end up right inside of the end stronghold room, which is obviously the most important one, assuming you don't break this on the way down. Which is, of course, the most important one. And yeah, if you are choosing to farm those ender pearls using that other village, you'll appreciate having this really close nearby. And yeah, the fact that it's below a plane, so if you want, you can dig the ceiling out and do what I've done with my end portal in my Let's Play world. So something else that makes this village cool, besides having this village right here, which is kind of nice, as well as having a stronghold below it, as well as having, of course, within that stronghold, a zombie spawner, you'll notice how if you want to find more spawners, because that's your thing, all you have to do is dig a single block down from the village itself, and you'll start noticing some cobblestone is there. Like, huh, what a weird thing, right? Why is there cobblestone chilling over here? Break a single block or two, and you'll find that it is, in fact, a skeleton spawner. What a cool, quirky thing with 13 the disc and, you know, random other loot, like golden apple found here. So yeah, there's a skeleton spawner this close to the surface, very easily usable or abusable if that's your thing. But you'll notice how this skeleton spawner, which is already kind of nice and rare by itself, mob spawners, as we all know, very rare Minecraft feature, but there's a mob spawner in this little cave right here, and if you head down this angle of the cave, then you'll find that it leads into something very interesting, because it is more cave, everyone's favorite thing. But then follow the cave even further down to the right, and you'll notice how all of a sudden there's spiders and a spider spawner. Two spawners that are not that far apart, because if you actually just dig straight up and, like, if you break some blocks, you'll find that they're within the 48 block radius of each other. Again, if you dig yourself a little tunnel yourself, which I've done the liberty of doing right here, you'll see how real fast you can get from one to the other, meaning you can use them as a double spawner at the same time. What a wonderful thing to find. Also, by the way, next to and really interlapting with the stronghold again, which is really, really cool, right? Lots of spawners all in the same stronghold, all in pretty similar places that you can take advantage of to get the experience that maybe you need to beat the Ender Dragon, because that's why you come here, right? And then on top of that, which is already kind of nice, on top of the fact that there's an extreme hills here, which everyone loves to do something with, we've also got this size of a plains biome right here. There's a little bit of a forest cutting off on both sides, but look, it's a plains biome which entirely encircles a forest and which is actually pretty flat in most parts. This is hugely good for building, in my opinion at least, because yeah, as you can see, there's like there's a pillager outpost over there. There's also all of this flat ground to terraform, build on, and do wonderful things. And yeah, oh, and also there's a village. But who cares about that other village? You got enough of those already, right? I think it's just wonderful to have all of these little nice things, you know, by themselves. It's like, huh, cool feature. Add them all together on one seed, and you've got yourself something which I think is a great seed. A seed which you could say probably defied your expectation. Why are villages made from such weird different structures? Why is a stronghold intercepting with 4 separate mob spawners? Why do your friends sometimes take half an hour to respond to your questions when you know that it only takes a few minutes and you know they read them in the notification, even if it doesn't say the red icon? These are the things you have to question yourself. I can't do it for you, but what I can say is this is a seed you totally should check out if you want a kind of long-term survival world. I know a lot of people are feeling that right now. This is one I can wholeheartedly recommend because of the nice mixture of biomes. It's also worth mentioning, this probably won't sway your opinion, but as a nice thing at the end, it's actually pretty close to a Will of Mention. Obviously, pretty close is something that's relative to the individual. You still have to go 3,000 blocks away, but most people have to go, you know, 10, 15, 20,000 blocks away. So to find a Will of Mention, chilling here, actually in a weird mixture of like a swamp, a plains, and a roof forest, it's something you might be able to appreciate. Or maybe you can't appreciate anything. Maybe the reason no one texts you back is because you don't appreciate anything that anyone does for you. Maybe that's the reason that really you should start paying better attention to people. Or maybe, just maybe, this is a seed you should check out to stop thinking about all those things. This is my new marketing gimmick. I tell you existential horrors, and then I give you the way out, which is the seed I'm advertising on Seed Sunday. I say advertising like there's some good reason, like, oh, I'm selling you seeds. I'm a real estate agent. I make a 1% cut on any gold you mine when you use this seed. So yeah, make sure use code TOYCAT so you get 5% off, I guess. Anyway, thank you very much for watching today's video. Don't use code TOYCAT because this is a seed, and if you type that in the seed box, you won't get the right seed. And also, I'll see you all in the next video tomorrow, which is probably a Let's Play, I think. We'll see, I guess, won't we? Goodbye. I hope that's true. That's usually true.
Okay.